Welcome to my channel. The morning started like any other, but the weight in the air made me pause before stepping out of my room. The faint smell of polish and leather hit me before I saw anything. My father was in the living room, standing tall, arms crossed, a box beside him. "Come here," he said. His voice was calm, but it carried authority that didn't leave room for argument. I walked in slowly. The box was open, revealing a pair of high heels. Black, glossy, pointed, with a heel that looked impossible to walk in. My stomach sank instantly. "Dad, what is this?" "You need to learn respect," he said. "And today, your lesson is going to be memorable." He didn't explain. He only gestured toward the shoes. My eyes darted from his stern face to the shiny heels. They were tiny, delicate, the exact opposite of anything I was used to. "Put them on," he commanded. I hesitated, but the weight of his stare pushed me forward. Sliding my feet inside, the heels pinched slightly, forcing my toes into a narrow point. The instant I stood, I wobbled. Every muscle in my legs screamed. My ankles shook, hips swayed unintentionally. He didn't move. He just watched. "You'll keep them on until dinner," he said. "No complaints. Every step is part of the lesson." I tried walking. Every movement was a challenge. The soft click of the heels on the floor sounded louder than any noise I had ever heard. Each step made me conscious of my legs, my posture, the way the shoes forced my body into unfamiliar angles. My father's eyes followed every wobble, every misstep. By the time I reached the hallway, I was flushed, knees tight, hands slightly shaking. I felt exposed, vulnerable, feminized in a way I had never experienced. The punishment wasn't just the shoes. It was the way they controlled me, forced me into new awareness, and left me completely at my father's mercy. Breakfast was torture. Every step to the kitchen made my legs tremble. The heels clicked sharply against the floorboards, announcing my presence with every motion. The skirt and blouse my father insisted I wear brushed softly against my skin. I was fully visible, every motion exaggerated, every misstep obvious. He didn't speak much. He let the punishment speak for itself. Every glance, every shift of his eyes was a reminder. My body was on display, feminized, exposed. I carried the plates carefully, hips swaying in ways I hadn't intended. Every slip of fabric, every misalignment of clothing made me blush, tightened my chest, and forced me to adjust immediately. I tried to navigate the living room without falling. Every corner became a hazard. A chair's leg, a small rug, even a doorway. Every obstacle amplified by the height of the heels. Each step required effort I hadn't anticipated. My legs shook, calves burned, ankles protested. The punishment was physical, but more importantly, it was psychological. When my father finally spoke, it was simple. "Balance yourself. Control every movement. This is discipline." Discipline. The word echoed through my body as I practiced, stepped, swayed, adjusted. Every movement carried weight. Every sway of my hips, every tilt of my head, every step forward, backward, sideways was scrutinized. Later, I had to fetch something from my room. The stairs were a nightmare. One misstep could mean falling. Every click of the heels on the steps was amplified in the quiet hallway. My legs screamed. My posture was forced into unnatural alignment. The mirror at the top of the stairs reflected me completely, skirt swaying, blouse adjusted, heels pinning my feet. The reflection was foreign, feminine, humiliating. By mid-afternoon, the initial shock faded slightly. I moved more deliberately, learning to control the sway, mastering the balance slowly. But every movement reminded me, I was under my father's plan, forced into femininity, humbled, exposed, and entirely aware of every inch of my body. When the house grew quiet, I returned to my room. The heels were still on. I sank to the edge of the bed, massaging my calves. The skirt rested perfectly over my thighs, blouse soft against my shoulders, hair cascading naturally. The reflection in the mirror caught my gaze. I barely recognized myself. The shoes were cruel. They forced hips to sway, knees to flex, posture to adjust. My body moved differently than it ever had. And yet, as I shifted, tested each step, practiced walking across the room, I noticed a strange rhythm forming. The heels, the posture, the clothing, they demanded precision. Awareness. Control. I tested small movements, lifting my foot slightly, walking to the window, stepping back carefully. Each motion highlighted curves, swayed fabric, glimmered hair. My reflection, once shocking, now seemed almost responsive. Every tiny adjustment produced an effect. Every sway of skirt, tilt of shoulders, shimmer of hair or lips reinforced presence, control, femininity. The punishment had transformed into practice. The humiliation lingered, but so did discovery. I realized every step I took was training. Every wobble taught balance. Every sway taught rhythm. The reflection wasn't just exposure. It was feedback. Dinner came. My father sat across from me, expression unreadable. I carried the plates, skirt swaying gently, heels clicking in deliberate rhythm. Each step, each motion, every subtle sway was watched. "You've improved," he said finally, voice flat but approving. I set the plates carefully. My legs ached, my posture was precise, my movements deliberate. The heels had forced awareness, control, presence. I realized that the punishment had reshaped more than motion. It had reshaped attitude. By the time the meal ended, I had mastered balance. Skirt swayed naturally, blouse rested softly, heels clicked with rhythm, posture held effortlessly. My father's eyes followed each motion, but this time, I met them without hesitation. The punishment had humiliated me, forced me into femininity, and challenged every ounce of composure. But it had also given me mastery, awareness, and subtle control. By bedtime, I placed the heels neatly by the dresser. My reflection in the mirror caught my gaze one last time, skirts flowing, hair framing perfectly, posture controlled. Humiliated, yes, but transformed. Controlled. Aware. Feminized. And unshakably present. The door clicked behind me, and the sound echoed louder than it should have. My father sat in the armchair, perfectly upright, eyes fixed on the floor. Beside him, a neatly wrapped box sat on the carpet. The air smelled faintly of polish and leather. "I've been thinking about your behavior," he said slowly. His tone was calm, measured, but the weight behind it made my knees tighten. I frowned. What do you mean?" He gestured toward the box. "Open it." Inside were a pair of heels. Black, pointed, impossibly high. My stomach flipped instantly. They weren't just shoes. They were a symbol of control, exposure, and embarrassment. "Put them on," he said. "And the outfit?" My eyes darted nervously to the folded clothes, a delicate blouse, a skirt that would fall just above the knees, and a small pair of flats, though he insisted on the heels. My throat tightened. Every fiber of my being screamed protest, but his gaze held me in place. Sliding my feet into the shoes, the tight straps pinched gently but firmly. Standing up, the heels forced my legs into unfamiliar angles. My calves tightened. Ankles wobbled. The world tilted slightly with each step. "You'll wear them all day," he said. "Every step, every movement, every glance is part of the lesson." Lesson. The word hit me like a stone. The punishment wasn't just the shoes. It was the total awareness of being watched, judged, exposed. I took my first tentative steps. Click. 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 The sound rang out across the living room, louder than any alarm. My legs shook, hips swayed unintentionally, and I felt naked. He didn't move. He just observed. Calm, precise, unyielding. By mid-morning, the lesson moved beyond the living room. I had to run errands. Each step out the front door felt amplified, heels clicking on pavement, skirt swaying against thighs, blouse resting perfectly on shoulders. My reflection in shop windows stared back at me, unfamiliar, delicate, feminized. A neighbor paused while watering her plants. Eyes flicked, curiosity and surprise mixing in a way that made my chest tighten. I adjusted posture, lifted chin, and kept moving. Every step demanded control. The street became an arena. Inside the corner store, fluorescent lights illuminated every detail. I carried the basket carefully. Skirt swayed. Blouse shifted. Hair fell naturally across shoulders. The cashier's eyes lingered just a second too long. My heartbeat quickened. Returning home, the sidewalk seemed endless. Every breeze lifted the skirt, every uneven stone made balance critical. My legs burned. My toes cramped. And yet I moved. Slowly, carefully, gracefully. Each step was punishment and training intertwined. Back inside, chores awaited. Folding laundry, dusting shelves, carrying dishes, each task a challenge in heels. My father hovered, correcting posture, hand placement, every motion. The humiliation deepened with every adjustment. Evening brought a brief reprieve. Alone in my room, I examined the reflection in the mirror. Heels pinched, skirt swayed, blouse clung perfectly. I practiced walking slowly, deliberately, testing balance, experimenting with sway. Each small motion became a lesson in control. The heels forced awareness. Ankles, calves, hips. Every part of my body learned to respond. The skirt's movement emphasized curves I had never noticed. Blouse fabric brushed against shoulders with each tilt. Hair tumbled, lips glimmered. My reflection no longer startled, it guided. I took cautious steps across the room. Tilted head. Gentle sway of the hips. Hands adjusting skirt or blouse. Each movement honed control, balance, presence. The shoes, once a punishment, became instruments of discipline and subtle mastery. Dinner came. I carried the plates carefully, heels clicking in rhythm, skirt swaying naturally, blouse perfectly aligned. My father watched silently. "You've improved," he said simply. No warmth, no mockery, just acknowledgement. The humiliation of the morning had transformed into control. Every sway, every step, every motion was deliberate. Awareness replaced panic. Exposure became mastery. By bedtime, I placed the heels neatly by the dresser. Reflection captured posture, skirt, blouse, hair, heels, all harmonized. The punishment had left me humiliated, feminized, and utterly transformed. But beneath it all, control, balance, and presence had emerged.